Hello, I am Jaime Elizondo from Real World Ranching, and our goal is for you to greatly increase your profits while you improve your land the fastest. And today I want to talk about electric fencing, design, and costs. When you're planning to double or triple your stocking rate, you need to have a well designed, simple paddock layout. To make this double rewarding, you also need to make it so that you can move your livestock through your property to wherever you want without a hassle. And you want it to be minimal, flexible, and low maintenance. I'm going to explain why. When you make a lot of small paddocks with water on every paddock, you restrict flexibility for when your stocking rate greatly increases. It is much better to make larger rectangular paddocks per parallel to your water alley that you can further subdivide if you plan ahead correctly. So you want your water alleys designed so that your livestock do not spend too much energy. And this is important. More on steep slopes paddocks and where there is much rock or on a large property. You see, having a well-designed and built permanent electric fence minimal grid will save you tons of problems and frustration. Plus, you will save money and time. Money and time that you can spend then with your family. I hear from many people that electric fences do not work well or are not very effective. And this usually means that when conditions are ideal, livestock respect them, but when conditions get difficult, they get out and exasperate the farmer. In my own experience, when I am off the farm for a long period, my helper will tell me that the electric fence failed or that livestock got out, and when asked the reason, I only get a blank stare from them. I believe they are convinced that electric fencing is not reliable or did not work, period. Well, let me tell you, one wire electric fence is very cheap, durable, and should be enough if we pay attention to detail. They are so cheap to install and maintain, 10 times lower cost per mile than barbed wire or wire netting, so that it makes absolute sense to me. And when we consider that other countries use them effectively, it pays to learn how to build them and maintain them effectively. I have been using electric fences since around 1980 and have learned what it takes for them to be effective all the time, not only sometimes. Around 90% of problems with cattle getting out of electric fences, one wire galvanized 12.5 caliber, is due to a lack of a good earth return system. We need to remember that volts are necessary to transmit the shock, but what delivers the stopping power are the joules, and they require a good ground or earth return system to function. Then there is the matter of a dry season or sandy, rocky soil that does not transmit the shock efficiently. You see, the current voltage must complete a circuit between the live animal touching the fence and the ground rods. So if the soil is dry, sandy, or rocky, it is more difficult for this to happen correctly. Now, let's analyze each component and where it can go wrong so we do not have our cattle get out when they are under these conditions. Number one, minimum joules in the energizer. I prefer a minimum of 6 joules and a good recognized brand of a modern energizer. Brands that come to mind are Staffix, Pell, Gallagher, and there are others. Why not a larger energizer? And I will answer that right now. For maximum shocking power, we need to consider the distance from the energizer to the permanent one-wire paddock where the cattle are in. And I recommend a grounding station every 300 to 500 acres in the center so that a 6-joule battery-powered energizer can be moved with the main herd, and the chalk is better to contain the livestock. This means that the energizer with its ground rods is never too far from the herd. Now, battery-powered or solar recharge batteries. To be able to move the energizer around on a large property, we needed it to be portable and battery-powered. And there are solar panels available that can recharge the battery, but here is my experience. I prefer a large deep cycle battery that I can move around with the energizer and recharge it, the battery, at the shop or in my house. I have found that most solar panel rechargers are a headache in that they are not built as sturdy as needed to be moved frequently. In my experience, they fall apart very quickly and create more problems than what they are worth. I believe any piece of equipment needs to be dependable, easy to use, easy to transport, and sturdy enough to last a long time. Then we need to build ground stations if the property is very large. If the property is small, then one grounding rod station at the main house should be enough to deliver a good shock power in any conditions. We need to use at least one ground rod, galvanized 1/2 inch to 5/8 inches thick, and 2 meters or 6 feet long, driven into moist soil per each 2 joules that the energizer delivers. The ground rods need to be continuously connected to the earth system of the energizer, and they need to be at least 6 feet apart. These ground rod stations should be built every 300 to 500 acres for best results. They will be left there and should be in the middle of that acreage. Now, and this is a very important component of your electric fence, if not done right, problems will happen. I am talking about the ground rods and clamps. They need to be galvanized, and the clamps should be such that they can be tightened with a wrench. This means that they need to have a bolt and a nut and need to be also galvanized, like the ones they used to link chains with. The connection needs to be very tight, as this is where most ground systems fail, and that's the heart of your system. Many of my total grazing students were having problems from using brass, weak clamps that could not be tightened enough, as they only could be tightened with a screwdriver. Those do not work. Now, on the topic of insulators, I much prefer to use fiberglass posts or PVC posts as they do not require insulators. If you prefer to use metal T-posts, a problem waiting to happen. Then you must use the very best quality insulators, and they need to be changed regularly as the sun makes them brittle. And we know that when your galvanized wire touches the metal post, it is effectively grounded and cattle will get out. Then moisten the ground rods. It is essential to keep the ground rods moistened as in a wet spot. But sometimes wet spots dry up. Then it's up to us to keep them moist. I suggest using a 5 to 20 gallon water jug with a drip irrigation hose that will dispense water to each galvanized ground rod to keep them moist down to the whole length. This helps the ground system so that it delivers a good shock. Always check your voltage and find and fix any faults, like faulty insulators, metal touching the fence, vegetation, fallen trees pinning the wire to the ground, etc. Check your voltage every day as livestock do respect it. But after a few days, When it's not delivering a good chalk, they will find and get out. Better to check than to have to go look for your livestock. And remember, I said that joules are what delivers the chalk and that the ground return system makes sure it is felt strong. The way to check this is to lower the wire to the ground and hear the sound it makes when touching grass or moist ground. It should be a strong snap and not feeble. Livestock feel it too, and remember, it needs to travel from their body to their hooves, then through the soil, which can be sandy or rocky, and then complete the circuit with the energizer ground rods. Everything should be working properly. In conclusion, we need a good ground return system for our energizer to deliver enough chalk power under difficult conditions so that your livestock respects the fence. Electric fences are not a physical barrier, but a more physiological one, where fear of the chalk is what makes your livestock respect the fence. Remember to use the key components explained before: fiberglass posts where possible, galvanized ground rods thick enough and 2 meters long, one galvanized ground rod per 2 joules of your energizer, and galvanized clamps that can be tightened very tight with bolt and nut. Triple galvanized 12.5 wire to attach your ground rods to the energizer air return system, and moisten those ground rods when in use. Always keep the energizer close to your herd for maximum chalk, and always check your voltage daily to fix any shorts that may happen. If you do all of this, you will enjoy having electric fences and the flexibility they offer to your grazing operation. If you are interested in learning more, check out my infrastructure mastery training. For today and up until tomorrow, it is available for only $27, which is 50% off the normal price, and is available on our website. It includes the proven principles for leafier pastures using your infrastructure. This is a 9-page PDF, free, covering infrastructure guidelines, and you also get a condensed 40-minute video on infrastructure training how-tos. This covers all of my 30 years of experience in just 40 minutes. You will get the best tips to save money and time. And last but not least, you will get a 70-minute training on electric fencing deep dive with a replay of a live infrastructure Q&A. Just go to www.rwranching.com/infrastructure. Well, this is all for today. I hope you liked it, and make sure you subscribe to my free podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube under Real Wealth Ranching. You can also join us on the weekly email at www.rwranching.com/join. May God bless you all.